The Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, she is making a statement on the Supreme Court ruling today. House Majority Leader Cantor has scheduled a vote to totally repeal the nation's health care law, and that was announced today. That's set for July 11th, and we'll have full coverage of that here on C-SPAN. And now to live coverage of the U.S. House.
House will be in order. The prayer will be offered today by our guest chaplain, Reverend Greg Lafferty, Willowdale Chapel, Kennett Square, Pennsylvania.
Lord God, we bless you this day, for you are good. You make your sun rise on the evil and the good. You let your rain fall on the just and the unjust. You give all people everywhere life and breath and everything. Yet we recognize that in this great nation we are among the most blessed. You've granted us freedom and abundance, safety and security, the rule of law and neighborly love. Guide us, Lord, that we may steward these good gifts for the benefit of all. And today, Lord, grant this House of Representatives the wisdom, humility, and diligence to govern well, that in some measure good might overcome evil, beauty might outshine ugliness, and love might undo hate. And in this, Lord, may you be honored, and may our nation dwell in deeper peace and safety. Amen.
The Chair has examined the journal of the last day's proceedings and announces to the House his approval thereof. Pursuant to Clause 1 of Rule 1, the journal stands approved. The Pledge of Allegiance today will be led by the gentlelady from New York, Ms. Maloney.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Chair will entertain. Without objection, the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Pitts, is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is an honor today to have Greg Lafferty, senior pastor of my home church, Willowdale Chapel, open us in prayer today. Greg studied at Wheaton College and Golden Gate Baptist Theological Seminary. He was ordained at Saddleback Church in Mission Viejo, California, where he served as a teaching pastor under Rick Warren. Under Greg, the church has grown dramatically. In his time as our pastor, he's made our church much more active in our community and engaged around the world. One example is the work with Hope International, touching lives in the Congo through micro-enterprise development. The efforts of the church have been multiplied and improved in many ways under Greg's leadership. He has helped our church show the love of Christ in our community in new ways and around the world. Greg has been married to his wife, Deanne, for 28 years. She joins us in the balcony. They have 3 children together, Kelsey, Krista, and Ryan. It is a great honor to have Greg and Deanne and have Greg open our chamber today with opening prayer, and I yield back.
The Chair will entertain 15 further requests for 1-minute speeches on each side of the aisle. For what purpose does the gentleman from South Carolina seek recognition? Without objection. Gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, today's decision by the Supreme Court is extremely disappointing, undermining limited government and expanded freedom. The decision reveals Obamacare is a huge tax increase on middle-class taxpayers, destroying jobs. We should have health care based on doctor-patient relationship rather than a politician-patient relationship. I agree with the National Federation of Independent Business that 1.6 million jobs are now at risk, and small businesses cannot make plans for the future, which destroys more jobs. House Republicans will continue to work to repeal the government health care takeover law. We will remain focused on enacting common-sense legislation that will preserve the doctor-patient relationship, provide every American the access they need to health care, and promote jobs in the private sector. In conclusion, God bless our troops, and we will never forget September 11th and the global war on terrorism.
For what purpose does the gentleman from New York seek recognition? Does the gentleman seek unanimous consent? Does the gentleman seek unanimous consent?
I do.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I recently added my name to a resolution introduced by Representative Rosa DeLauro to honor the Catholic sisters for their contributions to this country and to my community. I grew up in the shadows of the Mercy Convent in South Buffalo, New York. The sisters came to Buffalo in 1858, started hospitals to heal the sick, schools to teach the ignorant, and to help all of us see the gift of God's presence in a changing world. The sisters take a vow of poverty and obedience to serve God and God's people, particularly women and children. The Vatican says that the sisters are failing to uphold the Catholic doctrine and appointed 3 bishops to rein them in. The sisters reject the Vatican's assessment of their life work and vow to fight. In Scripture, Jesus says, "Whatever you do to the least of my brothers and sisters, you do for me." The sisters are doing God's work with courage, conviction, and selflessness. May God's guiding wisdom continue to inspire their good works. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition? Gentlemen seek unanimous consent. Gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, today many will address the House here and later in the day on subjects of great current importance. Certainly the upholding of the President's health care initiative. Certainly, in fact, the contempt vote we're going to hear in a few minutes. But this moment belongs to the people of San Diego. Walter Zabel died this week at 97. And normally when someone dies at 97, they've long since retired. He, on the other hand, was still the inspiration for Cubic Corporation, a company he founded that did so much for our national defense over his 50-plus years at its helm, that we cannot forget. He was in the office less than a week ago. He was still providing the stewardship, still receiving the technical benefits of his engineers, and still making sure that America was safe. So in San Diego, today is Walter Zabel Day. It is not a day for the other discussions of the House, and I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from California seek recognition? Gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
If you want proof that Congress is dysfunctional, that it is putting partisanship ahead of all else, look no further than today's vote to hold Attorney General Holder in contempt. In office, Holder has tirelessly pursued justice for all communities. He has helped prevent mortgage fraud, fought gang violence, protected intellectual property rights, and worked to ensure every American has the right to vote. We should let the Attorney General enforce our nation's laws, not make his job harder. The contempt vote against Holder is unprecedented, unjustified, and unfounded. Never in the 223-year history of the House have we held an Attorney General in contempt. Yet today, we will do just that in this ridiculous partisan stunt. Congress should be creating jobs, not wasting taxpayer money putting on a political sideshow during an election year.
What purpose does the gentleman from Kansas seek recognition?
Speaker, seek unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute. Revise and extend my remarks.
Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to take a special moment to recognize the birthday of a very special American. Today marks the 101st birthday of my grandmother, Edna Yoder. Born in 1911, my grandmother was raised on a Kansas farm with her many brothers and sisters. Work was hard, and she did her part to raise livestock, grow wheat, and help feed America. I take great pride in my grandmother and those in her generation. Hard work, determination, a focus on family, and deep religious conviction were the values that she and others upheld as they worked to build the most prosperous nation the world has ever seen. Today on her birthday, my grandmother is a vibrant and healthy 101-year-old. She has an infectious laugh, a cheery disposition, and is kind to everyone she meets. Her love of quilting, the Lawrence Welk Show, and of course board games and bingo keep her time occupied and keep her young at heart. Grandmother, you are an inspiration, and we are proud today to congratulate you on the celebration of your 101st birthday.
What purpose does the gentlelady from New York seek recognition? Gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last October, I stood here and spoke out against the new free trade agreements that would have continued to add to the damage done to manufacturers in my district that was done by NAFTA a decade ago. I mentioned a woman I had met at the Buffalo airport who, after 23 years working in a textile factory, was now selling energy drinks because her jobs had been shipped south and then overseas. That's why I'm fighting for policies to support making it in America, and that's why I'm so proud that a company, Kittinger Company, that makes furniture that's found today in the White House is being recognized by the 212 Best Make It in America Award for recognition of their strong commitment to American manufacturing. This Congress must work together to level the playing field for domestic businesses like Kittinger Furniture against unfair competition, particularly from China. The American government, the American consumers must continue to commit to buying American so we can have more success stories like Kittinger's. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back the balance of my time.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection. Gentleman from Texas is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, Secretary Clinton is giving away $2 billion of taxpayer money to green energy development in third world countries. This isn't money for vaccines. This isn't money for clean water. This isn't money to help child hunger. This is money for green energy. Don't we need to make sure that people have electricity before we worry about what kind of light bulb they're using? People are starving, being ransacked by terrorists, taken away as child soldiers, and dying of preventable diseases like diarrhea. So our government decided the best use of taxpayer money was to put billions in those countries for green energy. Our government wasted millions of taxpayer dollars on phony loans for green energy right here in the United States, like the companies like Solyndra. Congress didn't even approve this $2 billion giveaway. With all the problems of debt in the United States and disease in other countries, government is providing subsidies for green energy. Who would have thought? The government is out of control. More taxpayer money thrown into the windmill of willful waste. And that's just the way it is. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
Consent to address the House for 1 minute and revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, gentleman from Texas is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to say I'm proud of the decision of the United States Supreme Court today. I was proud to serve on the Energy and Commerce Committee that actually drafted this bill, and I read it many times and actually had a lot of amendments. The Affordable Care Act has already benefited millions of Americans and will continue to help those who are in greatest of need: children, young adults, people with pre-existing conditions, and our seniors. In our own congressional district in Texas, it's particularly important because we have one of the highest rates of uninsured individuals in the country. Our Constitution gives the U.S. Supreme Court the job to be the decider on what is constitutional. The Affordable Care Act is constitutional. Just like Social Security and Medicare, now it's the law of this great nation. Now, I yield back my time.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Tennessee seek recognition? Without objection. The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is a great day. It's a great day for children who want to stay on their parents' health insurance till they're 26, or parents who want their children on their health insurance till they're 26. A great day for seniors that are concerned about the donut hole, for women who've been discriminated against in health care, for all people who don't want to have co-pays for preventative care. It's a great day for people who don't want lifetime caps on their insurance or be denied because of pre-existing conditions. And it's a great day for America because the rule of law has been upheld. Justice Roberts rightfully ruled that this was appropriate and constitutional. Let us not forget Justices Ginsburg and Sotomayor and Kagan and Breyer. 5 justices who upheld the Supreme Court belief that the American people have that it is a rule of law and that the court is not political. It was a great day for American health care and for American law and jurisprudence. I yield back the balance of my time.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from New York seek recognition? Does the gentlelady seek unanimous consent? Gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, today is not a victory for one party or another. It is not a victory for an ideology. It is a victory for the American people and for the millions who had for years gone without access to quality health care. It is a victory for women who will no longer be discriminated against in their insurance premiums, and for pre-existing conditions, and for women and children and seniors and families. This is a great day for our country as we finally join the community of economically advanced nations that see to it that all their citizens have access to quality care. Let's get on with the unfinished business of helping create more jobs and putting a nation of healthy Americans back to work.
What purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition?
That's unanimous. To address the House for 1 minute and advise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to pay tribute to the life of Dr. Wendy Wayne, who passed away on June 17, 2012, at the age of 64 after fighting a courageous 4-year battle with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Wendy was a loving wife, a mother, a committed and respected community leader who touched the lives of many. Wendy had led a courageous and energetic life filled with love and adventure. She joined the Peace Corps at an early age and served in Kenya. As a seasoned traveler, Wendy swam the Earth's 5 oceans. Her work as an educator, a nurse, and a community leader demonstrated her dedication to fostering and preserving and improving the health and safety of children throughout the world. And her compassion and concern for the community also served as her testament to an extraordinary character. Wendy Wayne's unwavering loyalty to Kern County and her commitment to the well-being of future generations will ensure that her legacy will live on. She stands as a role model not only for her family and all that knew and worked with her, her friends, and we will all miss her. I will miss my dear friend, Wendy Wayne. I yield back the balance of my time.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Ohio seek recognition?
Ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute, revise and extend.
Without objection, the gentlelady from Ohio is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, today I rise to speak in opposition to the House resolution to hold Attorney General Eric Holder in contempt of Congress. In total disregard of the fact that the Attorney General and the Department of Justice have cooperated with each inquiry from the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee during the last 15 months, Chairman Issa decided to pursue this extreme and unprecedented action. To take action on this resolution is a gross misuse of this Chamber's time and energy, given that the information requested by the Chairman will shed no light on the person or persons responsible for the death of Agent Brian Terry, and that is where our time and energy should be focused. Instead of wasting the time of the committee, the Department of Justice, and the American people with political distractions, the House should be addressing the issues important to the welfare of this country and its people, and that is jobs. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Utah seek recognition?
I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute, revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman from Utah is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Despite what has been said here, it is the duty, obligation of this body to address a duly issued subpoena that has not been complied with. There has not been full compliance here. There has not been cooperation here. There has not been a willingness to share the information that is found within the Department of Justice. We have a dead Border Patrol agent. We have more than 200 weapons that were used to kill people in Mexico. We have thousands of missing weapons. We have an Attorney General who said that this Fast and Furious program was fundamentally flawed. And yet here we stand today, after more than just bending over backwards, more than a year, having not given the documents that we need as a body that should not, to make a proper decision. This should be bipartisan in our quest to right a wrong. It's not about Eric Holder, but it is about the Department of Justice, and it is about justice in the United States of America. I am proud of the fact that we are bringing up this contempt. It's sad that we got to this day. We have no other choice, but we as a body, as an institution, as a separate branch of government, have a duty and obligation, and we are fulfilling that here today. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from California seek recognition?
Ask permission for unanimous consent and to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentlelady from California is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Chairman, I come here today because when I was 6 years old in 1968, I saw the hate-filled work of a civil rights movement, of laws that needed to be changed. And now I'm here with an opportunity to be here in Congress, and I kind of wonder what changes have really occurred. I see today that Chief Justice Roberts stood and he did the right thing because he ruled on behalf of the American people. And I will say that this motion that's going to come forward will not have bipartisan support of this member because it's not done in a partisan manner. It's done in a hateful manner. And why? because we have an Attorney General where this has never been done. We need to stress that again. Never been done in this Congress, where materials have been provided and where this committee has failed to accept a single witness requested by the other side. That's not partisanship. That's politics at its worst. And I urge the American people to look and to urge us to get back to work and do what you sent us here to do, which is to take care of you. I yield back the balance of my time.
For what purpose does the gentleman from South Carolina seek recognition?
I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, my question is simply this. What percentage of the truth do you want? When we're asked to negotiate, when the Attorney General comes and asks us for an extraordinary accommodation, whatever that means, when we're asked to compromise, my question for our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, is this. What percentage of the truth will you settle for? If you have ever sat on the other side of the table from parents who have lost a loved one, is 50% enough? Is that enough of the documents? 75%? A third? The truth, the whole truth, so help me God. That's what we ask witnesses to do. That's what we ask jurors to do. And that's not too much for us to ask the Attorney General for the United States of America to do. And with that, I would yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Washington seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman from Washington is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to declare that the Supreme Court ruling on the Affordable Care Act affirms there is no going back to health care of 2009 or even to health care of 1789. Improvements to health care are taking root right now in this country. That progress must continue. The Supreme Court's decision today is a welcome victory for middle-class families and bolsters the necessary changes taking place in health care today. Now we must keep Medicare sustainable and affordable by closing the prescription drug donut hole and cracking down on fraud. Now we must make sure middle-class families have diverse options for high-quality, affordable health care. Now we must ensure that we meet the needs of Northwest Washington State seniors, veterans, and families. Northwest Washington has already seen improvements. Seniors in the 2nd District who are in the donut hole have saved more than $800 on prescription medications so far this year. More than 173,000 people in Northwest Washington State have health insurance that covers preventive care without copays or deductibles. It is time to move forward on health care, and today America took a great step. I yield back my time.
For what purpose does the gentleman from North Carolina seek recognition?
I ask permission to address the House for 1 minute.
The gentleman asks for unanimous consent.
Yes.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as a former judge of the North Carolina State Supreme Court, I've come to the well today to applaud the United States Supreme Court for its courage and for ruling on the side of constitutionality of the Affordable Care Act. This is a win, Mr. Speaker, for 40 million Americans, Democrats and Republicans alike, who will receive stable, secure, and affordable health coverage forever. I believe that much of the public confusion surrounding the bill was because Americans outside of the Washington Beltway simply did not understand what the Affordable Care means for them. So to put it plainly, Americans can now enjoy without worry or jeopardy coverage regardless of pre-existing conditions. Uninsured young people up to age 26 will be able to receive coverage. If you become gravely ill, there are no limits on your benefits. If you are a woman, you can't be charged higher premiums. If you need preventive care, you won't have a copay or deductible. If you lose your job, you won't lose your coverage. And if your employer doesn't provide coverage, you will be able to buy it at affordable prices. The political theater Republicans orchestrated around health care is over. Congress debated, the court decided. This is done.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Florida seek recognition? Gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today not only as a congressional member but also a widow of a law enforcement officer who lost their life in the line of duty. And I rise to speak on behalf of all those families that have lost a loved one in the line of duty, and especially for Brian Terry and his family. The Terry family deserves to know what happened. The American people deserve to know what happened, and Congress deserves to know what happened. But let us not forget, his family, Officer Terry's family, deserves to know what happens. And I stand here on behalf of all of those families who've lost law enforcement officers throughout our great nation in the line of duty. We must not waver. We, as Congress, need to find out what happened so it never happens again. And that's something that we never should lose sight of. We need to make sure that whatever took place, it doesn't happen again. We should not be losing our officers this way. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from New Jersey seek recognition?
The House for 1 minute, Mr. Speaker.
Does the gentleman seek unanimous consent?
Yes, Mr.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, today is a great day for the American people. The Supreme Court's decision to uphold the Affordable Care Act reaffirms our nation's commitment to make sure that all Americans have access to quality, affordable health care and health insurance. For the millions of Americans who have gone without health insurance, the seniors who have struggled due to inadequate coverage, the women, children, and young adults that have been denied coverage for pre-existing conditions, the Court's ruling is not only a victory, but a validation that they deserve to have the most basic of human needs met, and that is access to health care. The ACA addressed so many of the gaps in the American health care system, from closing the Medicare Part D donut hole to stopping the practice of denying those with pre-existing conditions insurance coverage, to claiming womanhood as a pre-existing health condition, to allowing young adults to stay on their parents' coverage. This law has changed the way our country manages and delivers all phases of our health care system, and I'm proud to have been part of that creation, and prouder still today to learn that the Court's decision was to uphold its constitutionality. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition? Does the gentleman seek unanimous consent? Does the gentleman seek unanimous consent?
Yes, sir.
Gentleman is recognized for 1 hour, or 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise today because I think everybody in this country is always worried about health care and whether they're going to be able to have access to it, whether they can afford insurance, whether the complications of that insurance will knock them off health care by putting caps on it or saying you have a pre-existing condition. Well, those worries are over. America has health safety now. Everybody in this country will be able to have access to health care. And the Supreme Court made the decision that no one without health care cannot get treated. So I think it's a really happy day, and there's going to be a lot of discussions here about, you know, pros and cons on how it's all worked out. But each individual, I think, will be able to decide, look, I can go to a doctor and I can get the kind of care that I need, and it's going to get paid for, so the doctors and hospitals will make it. That's the bottom line. And there are children now. I left my office this morning, and one of my interns is 25 years old, and she says, I've got health care insurance because of the law you passed. Until I'm 26, I can stay on my parents' health care insurance, and I otherwise would have none because she's already graduated from college. So this is a win-win for everyone. It's a great day for America.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, by direction of the Committee on Rules, I call up House Resolution 708 and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the resolution.
House Calendar Number 141, House Resolution 708. Resolved that if House Report 112-546 is called up by direction of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, A, all points of order against the report are waived and the report shall be considered as read, and B1, an accompanying resolution offered by direction of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform shall be considered as read and shall not be subject to point of order, and 2, the previous question shall be considered as ordered on such resolution to adoption without intervening motion or demand for division of the question except I. 50 minutes of debate equally divided and controlled by the Chair and Ranking Minority Member of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform or their respective designees. Double I. After conclusion of debate, one motion to refer if offered by Representative Dingell of Michigan or his designee, which shall be separately debatable for 10 minutes, equally divided and controlled by the proponent and an opponent, and I. One motion to recommit with or without instructions. The Chair may reduce to minimum time for electronic voting on the question of adoption of the motion to recommit as though pursuant to Clause 9 of Rule 20. Section 2. Upon adoption of this resolution, it shall be in order without intervention of any point of order to consider in the House the resolution, House Resolution 706, authorizing the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform to initiate or intervene in judicial proceedings to enforce certain subpoenas. The resolution shall be considered as read. The previous question shall be considered as ordered on the resolution to adoption without intervening motion or demand for division of the question except one. 20 minutes of debate equally divided and controlled by the Majority Leader and the Minority Leader or their respective designees, and 2, one motion to recommit.
Gentleman from Florida is recognized for 1 hour.
Mr. Speaker, for the purpose of debate only, I yield the customary 30 minutes to the gentleman from Massachusetts and my colleague on the Rules Committee, Mr. McGovern, pending which I yield myself such time as I may consume. During consideration of the resolution, all time yielded is for purposes of debate only. Mr. Speaker, I ask for unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of this rule and the underlying resolution that brings the House to this House floor. The rule provides for consideration of 2 contempt of Congress charges laid against Attorney General Eric Holder. You're going to hear a lot of folks say how historic today is. This historicness is why the rule provides for debate and separate votes on the contempt charges. The rule also provides for a motion to refer the criminal contempt charges, if offered by Mr. Dingell, as well as motions to recommit both resolutions. I don't assume to put words in his mouth, but I'm sure and I'm willing to bet that Mr. McGovern is sitting over there getting ready to tell me it's not enough time. I'm not going to disagree, because as we all know, before we leave Friday evening to go to work in our districts, we have a lot to get done here. We need to reauthorize our nation's highway and infrastructure systems. We need to save college students and recent graduates from student loan increases, interest rates that are 2 days away from doubling. We need to move forward with the open amendment process and finish considering appropriation bills to fund our transportation and housing programs. It's a lot to get done in 2 days, and frankly, if we didn't put time limit on today's contempt debate, we could spend days on end talking about nothing but this one issue. But beyond all of that, behind floor schedules and expiring authorizations, we're left with this truth. Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was shot on December 14, 2010, and died of those injuries the next day. His family's been looking for answers about what led up to this and caused his death for over a year and a half. If we can do anything to answer those questions, then we cannot and should not do anything to make them wait any longer. Not another month, not another day, not another hour. Today, the House of Representatives is going to do what we can to get those answers for the Terry family. Thanks to whistleblowers at the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, members of Congress were alerted to the fact that Agent Terry was killed by guns, AK-47 assault rifles, specifically that our government allowed to walk into Mexico. When confronted with these claims, the Justice Department denied the whistleblowers' claims. What we now know all too well is that just how right the whistleblowers were. However, it took the Department of Justice 10 months from their first denial, almost a year after Border Patrol agent Brian Terry's death, to formally retract the denial about their reckless program that contributed to the deaths of Agent Terry and hundreds of Mexican citizens. You know, I was a cop for almost 40 years and a sheriff for the last 10. As the head of a law enforcement agency, you have 2 options to make when you make a mistake. You can hope it doesn't come out, and if it does, you're going to lock down and deny, deny, deny. Or you can go out in front of it and admit you made a mistake, tell the American people you're going to investigate, and then do everything to make sure this never happens again. As sheriff, I found it was my moral imperative to always admit when we were wrong, hold folks accountable, make my agency better so we wouldn't make the same mistake twice. It's a responsible thing to do, and it takes away any sting of a possibility of a cover-up. That's not what DOJ did. They've gone the other route: hide, deny, and stonewall. They sent a letter with false information to Congress. The institution is constitutionally mandated with government oversight, and it took them 10 months to retract that statement. It appears that in those 10 months lying and admitting the truth, members of DOJ and ATF colluded to intentionally cover up what happened. What we're trying to figure out is if there really was a cover-up, and we need the information to determine the facts. Yesterday at the Rules Committee, a couple of people mentioned President Nixon and Watergate, and I agree. This is like the Watergate scandal, but President Nixon didn't leave office because of the scandal itself. He was forced to resign because of the cover-up. I said it last night, and I'm willing to bet Attorney General Holder didn't know all the specifics about what was happening with Fast and Furious. But when the facts started coming to light and congressional investigators started looking for answers, he repeatedly kept us from getting information we need. And that has kept the Terry family from getting the closure they need. Attorney General Holder is responsible for his agency, but he's essentially given his top leadership a free pass. Mr. Speaker, a law enforcement officer who was employed by the United States federal government is dead. Somebody knows what happened to the result of his death, and the Justice Department now and President Obama are refusing to release that information to Congress, to the American public, and to Agent Terry's family. This institution has a duty to oversee the executive branch and to find out what happened. The answers are there. Attorney General Holder knows the answers are there because he's the one who has the documents that contain the answers we're looking for. He's the gatekeeper here, and if he won't give us the information this institution needs to do our duty, our constitutional duty, then we will use every legal and constitutional tool that we have to get to it. I've heard some people say this is all about politics. In my heart, it's just the opposite. It couldn't be further from the truth. These contempt charges aren't about politics. They aren't about Attorney General Holder or the President Obama or anything else but this. A man died serving his country, and we have a right to know what the federal government's hand was in that. It's clear this country somehow played a role in his death. We need to root it out, find the cause, and make sure this never, ever happens again. These votes today aren't about politics. They're about answers that, at the very least, this country owes Agent Terry and his family. President Obama promised his would be the most open administration in history. When discussing executive privilege in the past, Attorney General Holder has made it clear that DOJ won't invoke state secrets privilege to conceal violations of the law or administrative error, avoid embarrassment, or to prevent or delay the release of information. Unfortunately, that is exactly what's happened so far with Fast and Furious. It is for this reason why the House today sees no other choice than to charge Attorney General Eric Holder with both civil and criminal contempt of Congress charges. I'm going to support both of these resolutions. Mr. Speaker, it's not about that. It's the political thing to do. It's not because it's the easy thing to do, but it's because it's the right thing to do. And with that, I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time is reserved. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the gentleman from Florida, my friend Mr. Nugent, for yielding me the customary 30 minutes. I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend, and I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Without objection, the gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, this is a sad and deeply troubling day for this House of Representatives. The Republican leadership of this body is asking us to take the unprecedented and unjustified step of holding a sitting Attorney General in contempt of Congress. They are doing so based on a completely partisan, quote, investigation. This is a witch hunt, pure and simple, Mr. Speaker, and it has no place in this House. Eric Holder is a good and decent and honorable public servant. He has reinvigorated the Justice Department, especially on efforts to stop partisan voter suppression across the country. I find it interesting that the Republican leadership has scheduled this nonsense for the floor today, when it is certain to be buried under the avalanche of news in reaction to the Supreme Court's health care decision and the highway bill and the student loan bill and everything else. Is it possible that the Republican leadership doesn't really want the American people seeing what the House is doing today? Why else would they feel the need to rush this to the floor a mere week after the House Oversight Committee voted along strictly partisan lines to adopt the Republican contempt citation? Let me say at the outset that there are certain things that all of us, Democrats and Republicans alike, agree on. We all agree that the death of Agent Terry was a terrible tragedy. We all agree that the ATF field office's embrace of gun walking, which began under the Bush administration, by the way, was a terrible idea. We all agree that the ATF should not have sent an erroneous letter to Senator Grassley in 2011. But the contempt resolution before us doesn't have anything to do with any of that. The Department of Justice has provided thousands and thousands of documents about gun walking. The Attorney General has testified 9 times. The Department has provided over 1,000 pages of documents about the letter sent to Senator Grassley. So this isn't about getting to the truth. This is about politics. It is about politics. This is about the Republicans refusing to take yes for an answer. This is about doing whatever it takes to attack the Obama administration, no matter the issue, no matter the cost. During the committee's, quote, investigation, the Republican majority refused all Democratic requests for witnesses and hearings, as well as requests to interview any Bush administration appointees. All of them were denied. The Republicans refused Democratic requests to hold a hearing with Ken Melson, the head of ATF. You know, if you're actually interested in learning about an ATF operation, don't you think you'd want to talk to the leadership at the ATF? Republicans refused Democratic requests to hold a hearing with former Attorney General Mukasey, who was briefed on botched ATF operations in 2007. If you're actually interested in learning about these botched operations, wouldn't you want to talk to the man who was briefed about them? I would hope that we would all agree that we should never take a step like finding a sitting Attorney General in contempt lightly, and that we should only do so based on accurate information. But Ranking Member Cummings and his staff have found in a very short time 100 concerns, omissions, and inaccuracies in the committee report that is the foundation of this contempt resolution. 100 inaccuracies and omissions and concerns. Sadly, instead of getting answers to those questions, this has been rushed to the floor. Mr. Speaker, the American people expect us to address the issues that matter most to them, issues like jobs and the economy and education and health care. But the Republican majority refuses to listen. Instead, they bring this resolution to the floor, and then they wonder why Congress is so unpopular. What troubles me most, perhaps, is that under this Republican majority, everything has to be a fight. Everything. Everything has to be a confrontation. Everything has to be a showdown. And I get the politics. I understand this is an election year, but this goes way, way too far. It is just wrong. I wish the Speaker of the House would have intervened here and kept this off the floor. By moving forward today on this resolution, we diminish the House of Representatives. This is not a happy day for this institution. I urge my colleagues to reject this rule and the underlying resolutions, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time is reserved. Gentleman from Florida.
Mr. Speaker, you know, the gentleman from Massachusetts made a statement. This is about a contempt citation because the Attorney General has not provided all the information the committee has asked for. Out of 140,000 pages by his own testimony from the judiciary, he's given a little over 7,000 pages. That's not reaching out and doing the right thing. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from South Carolina and fellow Rules Committee member, Mr. Scott.
Gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Nugent, thank you for time. Mr. Speaker, it seems to me that my friends on the left need some clarification on why we are here this afternoon. This is not a good day for America, and it is certainly still not a good day for the Terry family. My friends on the left continue to talk about this as if it were a witch hunt. A witch hunt. We have a slain Border Patrol agent, and my friends on the left want to politicize this by talking about a witch hunt, when in fact we all know that this, Mr. Speaker, is about justice. This is about justice. My friend on the left just said that we Republicans refuse to hear yes. We refuse to accept yes as an answer. Well, Mr. Speaker, we want a yes for Kent Terry. We want a yes for Josephine Terry, the parents of Brian Terry. We want a yes for the American people. We want a yes as it relates to the integrity of the process, and we want a yes for justice. And, Mr. Speaker, my friends on the left continue to consistently say no. And we are here, Mr. Speaker, for only 2 reasons. The first is because the United States Border Patrol agent Brian Terry is dead because of a federal government operation that allowed American guns to be walked across the border in the hands of drug lords and cartels. We are here today, Mr. Speaker, because the Department of Justice, the Attorney General Eric Holder, and now the President refuses to comply with congressional subpoenas that will give us clarity on these questions, give us clear answers for the Terry family and for the American people. And we have been trying for 18 long months. Another minute.
I yield the gentleman another minute.
Gentleman is recognized for an additional minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have been trying for 18 long months to get to the bottom of this issue, and yet we are being stonewalled. And yes, we hear that the federal government has provided 7,000 plus pages. But, Mr. Speaker, there are over 100,000 pages that we've requested, and we're talking about a period from February the 4th, 2011 to December 2011, where we were given false information. It is our responsibility, it is our duty to find the truth for the American people and the Terry family. And let me close, Mr. Speaker, by simply saying that how are we supposed to protect and ensure the safety of our Border Patrol agents in the future if we do not know who allowed the guns to walk across the border? How are we supposed to give Brian Terry's family any sense of closure? Mr. Speaker, this is why we have no choice but to be here today. The refusal of the Attorney General to provide answers regarding Brian Terry's death leaves us no choice but to be here today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Mr. Speaker, let me yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman is recognized.
Gentleman from North Carolina. Mr. Speaker, the last time Congress dealt with a contempt resolution was in the case of John Bolton and Harriet Miers. The period of time between when the committee voted out the resolution and before there was floor action was 6 months. And the reason why there was time taken was to make sure that we got it right. This is less than a week. And I'm going to say to my friends on the other side of the aisle that the minority staff has compiled a list of 100 inaccuracies, 100 inaccuracies in the report that was the basis for this contempt resolution. 100. And they're rushing it to the floor. So don't tell me this is not about politics. Don't tell me this is not a witch hunt. It is exactly what it is. And, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Butterfield.
Gentleman from North Carolina is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. The gentleman from Massachusetts is absolutely correct. This is a sad and troubling day. What we see here today, Mr. Speaker, is nothing more than using the halls of Congress for extreme partisan political purposes. This case is all about politically motivated confrontation with the executive branch on a matter that does not even begin to rise to this level. This case is not about gun walking. Those documents have been provided and are not in dispute. The documents at issue are completely unrelated to how gun walking was initiated in Operation Fast and Furious. The department has produced thousands of pages of documents. The committee has interviewed 24 officials, and the Attorney General has testified on 9 occasions. This is an election year witch hunt. I say that to the gentleman from South Carolina. This is an election year witch hunt. During this 16-month investigation, the committee refused all Democratic requests for witnesses and hearings, as well as requests to interview any Bush administration appointees. Never in our nation's history has the House of Representatives voted to hold a sitting Attorney General or a cabinet member in contempt. What's different? I will tell you what's different. It is the simple fact that Republicans have a dogged determination to discredit and defeat this president at all costs. Plain and simple. It's politics. My Republican friends, do not use your majority to engage in a political stunt. The integrity and legacy of this institution deserve better than that. If you want to discredit and defeat this president, you need to leave this floor and leave the C-SPAN cameras and go out and give it your best shot. This is not the place to do it. When the history of this despicable proceeding is recorded, it will be said that your actions were politically motivated to discredit and defeat a president who has worked so hard over the past 3 years. I encourage my colleagues to join me in refusing to vote for this gimmick and walk to the steps of the Capitol and explain the circumstances of this dark day. Do not vote for this resolution. For those of you who choose to vote, I ask that you defeat the rule and vote against these contempt
Gentleman's
resolutions.
time has expired.
I yield back.
Members are reminded to direct their remarks to the chair. Gentleman from Florida.
Mr. Speaker, you know, it's amazing that my friends forget about history. Because they referenced history in 2008 as related to House Resolution 979 and House Resolution 980. And you know what they did? They passed a rule and said it's hereby adopted. You never even had discussion on the House floor like we're going to do today. Never had debate on the House floor. They just passed it in the Rules Committee and said, guess what? It's hereby adopted. Recognize the gentleman, Mr. Issa, the chairman of Oversight.
For how much time?
I seek unanimous consent to place the statement by the Terry family concerning Congressman Dingell's criticism of the contempt vote in the record at this time.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Does the gentleman seek to yield further time?
I do. I seek to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Ross.
Gentleman from Florida is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Nugent. Today I rise to offer my support to hold the Attorney General in contempt of Congress. In December 2010, Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was killed with a gun that was allowed to walk across the border as a result of Operation Fast and Furious. Mr. Speaker, some, including this Attorney General, and some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle state that this operation began in a previous administration. This is demonstrably false, and nothing could be further from the truth. While there was a program under the previous administration known as Wide Receiver, the differences are quite stark. Under Wide Receiver, weapons were tracked, the Mexican government was involved, and no one died as a result of that operation. In fact, Operation Wide Receiver ended in late 2007, nearly 2 years before Fast and Furious began and nearly 9 months before this president was sworn into office. Fast and Furious allowed guns to walk across the Mexican border with no tracking, no involvement by Mexican officials. Over 2,000 firearms disappeared across the border under this failed operation. Hundreds of Mexicans are dead because of this failed operation. An American hero and United States Marine, Agent Brian Terry, is dead because of this failed operation. Agent Terry stood his ground and told moms and dads across America that no one would hurt their children on his watch. He stood up and took that responsibility. To this day, and I mean no one in this administration has had the guts to stand up and say, it was my fault. Attorney General Holder has refused to comply with a congressional subpoena that was issued in October of 2011. I was a practicing attorney in the real world before I came to Congress. In the real world, Americans are expected to comply with subpoenas. Is the Attorney General any different? No, he is not. Are we just supposed to take Mr. Holder's word that we have all the information? That may be how Washington works, Mr. Attorney General, but that is not how Main Street works. Mr. Attorney General, what are you hiding? What are you hiding from the Brian Terry family? What are you hiding from the American public? I've said it before and I will say it again. You can delegate authority, but you cannot delegate responsibility. Mr. Speaker, the Attorney General can stonewall all he wants. The Attorney General can misremember all he wants. But whether he likes it or not, today responsibility will land on his desk. Mr. Speaker, I applaud Chairman Issa for his steadfast leadership in the pursuit of the truth. I applaud my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who are putting the search of truth before party. Request 15 seconds.
Mr. Speaker, I yield another 15 seconds.
The gentleman is recognized for an additional 15 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I applaud all of those, like Agent Terry, who wear the uniform of the armed forces or stand on the border and guard our nation. Agent Terry knew a thing or two about duty. He died while on duty. It is now the duty of this Congress to hold those responsible and accountable for this failed operation. We will not forget, and we will always stand with you. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Once again, members are advised to direct their remarks to the chair. Gentleman from Massachusetts.
Mr. Speaker, my friend from Florida, Mr. Nugent, talked about obstructionism, and I want to say a couple of words about that, because I think this whole process has obstructed justice. You know, during the committee's 16-month investigation, the committee refused all Democratic requests for witnesses and hearings, which is unprecedented. For instance, the committee refused to hold a public hearing with Ken Melson, the head of ATF, the agency responsible for this operation, after he told committee investigators privately that he never informed senior department officials about gun walking because he was unaware of it. The committee also refused a hearing or even a private meeting with former Attorney General McCasey, who was briefed on botched efforts to coordinate interdictions with Mexico in 2007 and was informed directly that these efforts would be expanded during his tenure. Refused the opportunity to have the Attorney General as a witness. Mr. Speaker, this partisanship was demonstrated by the committee's vote along strictly partisan lines to hold the Attorney General in contempt and to vote along strictly partisan lines on every amendment. This is about politics. This is not about the truth. This is not about justice. This is about politics, and that is why this is such a sad day for this institution. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Vermont, Mr. Welsh.
Gentleman from Vermont is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the gentleman from Massachusetts. Mr. Speaker, the investigation that's being conducted by the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is a legitimate investigation. But the recommendation to this House to hold the Attorney General in contempt is reckless, irresponsible, unnecessary, and will actually get in the way of the pursuit of truth. Why do I say that? If you're going to do an investigation, you have to begin at the beginning. In the beginning of Fast and Furious and gun walking began in the Bush administration. There's no evidence that President Bush was aware of it. There's some questions about what his Attorney General knew what and when. But if you are sincerely interested in trying to find out what happened, how in the world do you not begin at the beginning? And despite that fact, the request of many of us on the committee who support an investigation, who support the use of a subpoena, who support the aggressive right of Congress to get access to documents that it needs, have been denied the opportunity to bring in witnesses about what happened and how it happened during the Bush administration. We've been denied the opportunity to bring in Attorney General McCasey. Despite the fact that there was evidence that he was personally briefed on the botched efforts to coordinate interdiction with Mexican authorities. And then Attorney General McCasey was also told that the ATF field office in Phoenix planned to expand these operations during his tenure. So our question really quite simply is, begin at the beginning. That foundation of an open and exhaustive search is what this committee owes the Committee on Government Reform owes to this House of Representatives before it asks the members of this House to vote on the extraordinary measure of finding a sitting Attorney General in contempt. Secondly, we've got to do our job with care. The original subpoena that went out and was there until the Friday before the Wednesday in which we voted was demanding that the Attorney General turn over documents it would have been illegal for him to turn over. Transcripts of the grand jury. 15 seconds.
The gentleman, an additional 15 seconds.
Gentleman's granted an additional 15 seconds.
Thank you. Transcripts of the grand jury, transcripts of wiretap applications, which is not only a violation of the U.S. Code, but would jeopardize law enforcement officials if that word got out. That is irresponsible, over a broad subpoena. So bottom line, let the investigation continue, but let's acknowledge that the job that the committee needs to do before it asks for a vote of contempt has not been done. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Florida.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Texas, Judge Poe.